The Buccateers podcast is a proud member of the TSPN, the Time Skew Podcast Network. You can catch our podcast in a number of outlets, including Google, Apple, Spotify, and timeskew.com/podcast, along with YouTube now. And you can follow us on YouTube as well as Twitter today at Buccateers. Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another fantastic edition of the Buccateers podcast. I am one of your hosts, Tampa Tones. We're welcomed in by the crew tonight. We got a lot of good guys in the house tonight and a very special guest as well. We will bring in the special guest in a little bit here shortly. First, we're going to be welcomed in by the crew. It's a loaded house tonight. We got Stunna, Bucco, and Cody in the house. We had a lot of news today that we're going to have to discuss here. And, we got a lot of Buccaneers to talk about tonight. Fellas, how we doing?
Happy to be here, man. Let's get it going.
Doing good. Exciting day, man. All the news and stuff. Definitely a good day for Bucs football.
Yeah, Stunna, how you feeling about these moves?
Oh, man, I love it. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I think we all are. And without further ado, we're going to bring in our guest now. He is from the Bucs Report. You could follow him on Twitter at Joshua_C_Allen for great articles, great information. And he also has a very good podcast as well. You can see it in the background, the Audible with Joshua Cole Allen, and Bucs Report as well with that beautiful logo there as well. I think it's fantastic. You guys be the judge for yourselves. I personally love it. Joshua, how we doing tonight? Thanks for joining us, man. We're all big fans of your work, and we're looking forward to talking some Bucs football with you tonight.
Absolutely, man. I'm happy to be here. Big news today, obviously all around the Buccaneers, from franchise tags to re-signings to exclusive rights free agents to potential deals in the works. It's shaking up to be a heck of an offseason already. Free agency already hasn't even hit yet. And it looks like by the way some of these things are going, they're going to be able to bring everybody back and go for two. Maybe add a couple of depth pieces too. I got a couple of guys in mind that I think that would be good value signings for them as well. So I'm excited. Again, I'm excited to be here, and let's go Bucs.
Yeah, let's go Bucs indeed. Maybe we could talk about some of those value signings potentially in a bit tonight, if you don't mind. That would be cool to perhaps get a word or two in on those. But like we said, we had huge news today. We're excited to hear your thoughts about it. First of all, a lot of people thought this is where the franchise tag was heading, but between Shaq and Levante and Godwin, you just never know. It did end up being Chris Godwin. We'll start with you, Joshua. Thoughts on Godwin receiving the franchise tag officially, and are there hopes at a long-term deal being worked on here? I know I've seen some Bucs reporters tweet there are hopes and talks of discussions for a long-term deal, maybe on hold for now, but what are your thoughts about the entire thing?
Well, I mean, it was the most logical move for them to make was the franchise tag him. If you look at the number, it's 15.8, and that could go up slightly depending on the cap situation, which we still don't have a hard cap, which is kind of crazy if you ask me. But it should be around $15.8, $16 million. And if you look at the open market, a guy who just got paid this past offseason was Keenan Allen. He got $18 million a year. So I think that's where you're kind of looking at for Chris Godwin as the starting point, around 18 mil. Especially with the things he's been doing. So applying the franchise tag kind of saves you money this year in a sense, but with the ability to, as we've seen with Levante, and we'll get into that later, his contract push money around and open up more cap space. So I do think that Chris Godwin wants to be here. I know the Bucs want to keep him here. It's just about making sure the financials work out. We obviously saw his comments a couple weeks ago where he said, I'd rather take a couple dollars less, which of course doesn't mean dollars like me and you. It means a couple $1 million less to be somewhere he's happy than rather be miserable. I follow his fiance on Instagram. She did a Q&A about a week ago, and one of the questions asked to her were, when you were drafted from Penn State, which is in Pennsylvania, they pretty much asked, was there a team you wanted to go to? And her answer was, no, we just wanted to go somewhere that was warm. We were done with the cold. They're from Delaware. That's where he played his high school football. That's where they met. So they're really looking to go with somewhere warm. And if I'm thinking about, first of all, they have a large presence in the community down here, big charity. They're best friends with, a lot of these guys on the team. A lot of, the wives and the fiancés, they all get together and hang out all the time. Happy wife, happy life, and they're going to get married soon. But not only that, I'm just looking at the other possible destinations. If warm weather really is something that they want, and I know money talks, warm weather might be a foregone conclusion if someone's offering you $25 million more than the Bucs would.
Hell yeah.
But I mean, you look at the places, LA, both of those teams have stocked wide receiver rosters. Dallas, which is in Texas, who just got pummeled with snow, but the Cowboys, they have a lot, loaded wide receiver roster. Nobody wants to go to Houston right now. The only other places would be Jacksonville and Miami, which, I mean, I think he's comfortable here. So I think the goal is long-term extension. But as a, placeholder, the franchise tag is just going to have to work. You obviously don't want him to go test free agency, and you want him to be a part of this team. I think he's very integral to what they do on offense, especially the type of offense Bruce Arians runs. So it was best to keep him here. And even if you don't have plans, which I do, I know everyone's heard OBJ floating around and whatnot.
Yeah,
but
let's cut that shit out right now.
yeah, let's stop.
Not happening.
Let's stop. But if you were to move on from him, you don't want to move on from nothing or the potential third-round compensatory pick. You'd rather franchise him, tag him. You could probably get a late first-round pick, second-round combination. But he's here to stay, in my mind.
Yeah, that would be, we all hope he's here to stay. And obviously Florida has less taxes for sure. So, than other states do. That could be a part of it to help him make some of that money back as well. We hope he signs that long term, but we'll see what happens. It seems as if we're building a 2-year window on top of our championship year to try and win one, but we'll see. Cody, Bucco, Stunna, thoughts on bringing back Godwin with the franchise tag? I mean, I like this move. As Joshua said, it just made the most sense, almost too much sense, and we're just happy to have him back.
I think it makes sense for both parties. We don't let him hit the market, and they all know the cap's going back up next year. I think he likes it enough here. I'm just guessing, but I'm just assuming they said, look, let's do the tag this year. Next year, the cap goes back up, and we'll work out a long-term deal because I don't think they want Chris Godwin going anywhere. And, I mean, hearing some of the other teams' possibilities, I mean, I don't see why he'd want to go to any of those places. He said he likes it here. So, I'm going to take his word for that. It made sense for both teams. In fact, I said, I don't know if you popped that, but I thought that's what was going to happen. I thought he would eventually just end up getting franchised for this year. So, I don't know. It just makes sense. Happy it happened.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, especially in the year where the cap is reduced, where the whole pandemic uncertainty abound. It makes sense in a financial regard. As long as we have Mike Greenberg here, I trust him to do whatever the contract, comes out. That dude is a genius with the cap. This whole moving phantom voided years around on deals is really going to give us a lot of wiggle room where, we had a show about 6 months ago. We talked about this. How are you going to have two $18 million receivers on the same team? That typically won't bode for a good cap structure for a whole team. But in this regard, with the way that teams are getting a lot more creative with the contracts, it makes it a lot more easier to have two $18 million receivers on the roster, especially when your GOAT quarterback is taking $25 million instead of $42. So, that factors in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Stunna, what are your thoughts on this Godwin getting the franchise tag?
I predicted it, but I'm very excited about it. I'm very happy for Chris. He's a homegrown talent. How many times do you hold on to draft picks too long that are busts? So if you get one that's good, you definitely want to sign your draft picks, and everyone says build through the draft. This is a homegrown talent, and we definitely need to keep him. And that's the way I felt all along. He's a phenomenal player. To me, he's one of the best receivers in the league. And if you remember, Amari Cooper took less money to stay in Dallas as well. So there was a precedent set, and I just hope that we can lock up, CG and keep him around for years to come.
Yeah, go on, Bucco.
I was just saying, if what Amari Cooper took is less money, shit, I'm nervous. What was his deal, like 6 year, 105? Or something like that. That doesn't seem like taking less money.
I think he got 105 with Dallas, but I think he could have got like 15 or 20 million more with the Redskins. But he decided to stay in Dallas because the 20 million or whatever wasn't to him worth going to the Redskins as opposed to Dallas.
Yeah, and Bucco shouted out obviously Mike Greenberg, who guy's a whiz with a cap, but also shout out to Jacqueline Davidson too. She does a great job in that front office, working hand in hand with Greenberg and Light. So just that three-headed monster in the front office coming together to figure out a really interesting way to re-sign Levante and obviously give that tag to Godwin. And I think they'll come up, as you guys are saying, with a pretty interesting way to come up with a contract that obviously rewards the player, but also doesn't handicap the team like you're seeing with the Saints.
Yeah, and
Go ahead,
go on,
Tom.
Bucco. No, you go.
No, that's twice I've interrupted you, sir. I will concede to you.
I just wanted to ask if Joshua thought any chances of Greenberg or Davidson getting a GM possibility sometime here in the near future after, perhaps if we do get a second Super Bowl, which obviously is the end goal, there'll be hot names on the market, no doubt, 2 Super Bowls. Do you think that they get their chance, either one of these?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at those New England teams of the past, Scott Pioli, Romeo Crennel, Charlie Weiss, Josh McDaniels, the list goes on and on. Bill O'Brien, Eric Mangini. When you have a successful franchise, Matt Patricia, I mean, the names go Brian Flores, on and on. When you have successful franchises, everybody wants a piece of that. I mean, you're seeing the guy down in Jason Light. Pure example. He was with the Patriots for those first couple Super Bowls. You're looking at John Quinn, who was just with the Lions. Didn't work out well for him. John Robinson, who's now with the Titans. Obviously, Mike Vrabel. I mean, when you have a winning franchise, everyone's eyes are on there, and they all want a piece of that, especially if they do win a second championship. I know a lot of eyes will be on guys like Todd Bowles and Byron Leftwich, as they should, but I think the front office comes into play too, and Greenberg and Davidson are definitely names to watch as potential front office people who could be in line for a GM role or even just promotion in a different capacity in another organization or even this organization. Bruce Arians, I contest that he wins a Super Bowl this year. They go back-to-back, go for 2. He probably retires, and Bowles probably gets that spot. And now you're looking at maybe replacing Byron Leftwich. We'll see what they do there. But if not, those guys are, especially Bowles, who puts together a season like he did this year. And I think they're amending the rules so coaches will not be able to be hired until after the Super Bowl, which will be huge.
Yeah, I saw that.
For guys, because I really do think if that was in place now, we might have lost both of these guys. So thank goodness that wasn't in place this year. But next year, I think both those guys are going to have really hard looks around the league.
No doubt.
Yeah,
they should. With the work they're doing, they deserve the credit.
Absolutely.
But I don't want you bringing that up. I don't want you speaking that into existence. So
don't you put that evil on me, Bucco.
Don't you put that evil on me.
If you remember, Rich McKay's front office got picked apart with Tim Ruskell going to Seattle.
Yeah.
And some other people. I think one of his assistants went to Chicago. And of course, our Jason Light staff's already been picked apart with John Robinson going to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's starting before our eyes, and I hope we could keep Todd Bowles. I would like to keep him as Bruce's, next head coach of the Buccaneers. That would be fantastic, in my opinion. I'd like to see Bowles get a crack at it after Bruce wins back-to-back, go for 2, as some may say. So we'll see what happens. But
as long as it's not run it back, we're good. Back-to-back's fine, I think.
Back-to-back, I was sweating there for a minute. So, yeah, as long as it's not run it back, that's cursed. None of that here, please. But, yeah, we're here.
Three-peat.
Yeah, three-peat. Sure, three-peat. We'll see.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Hey, can we get 2 first? Let's calm down, guys.
Yeah, I mean, hey, LeBron said 7 or 8, so Stunna could dream for 3 right off the damn bat. I think that's a little bit appropriate.
Only record Brady ain't broke.
Yeah, and the other big Bucs news today as well here as we pivot and continue to maneuver through the episode. Levante David ending back with the Bucs, fantastic. And we kind of called it on the Buccateers a couple weeks ago, as a lot of people did, that he would be back. I said it'd be almost a JPP-like contract on the front end. It looks like that. Obviously, a lot of moving parts behind the scenes that people don't know about. Joshua, I was hoping you could perhaps help break that down. I know it's technically perhaps a 5-year contract, back 3 years, voided a little bit. Little money here, 3.7 million, I believe, 4.2 million next year. But somewhere in there, Levante David has to be getting a big lump sum of money, one would think.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't have the contract details, and some of them are coming out. But if we just go based off the first report that we got, it was 2 million, 2 years, $25 million with 20 million guaranteed. Now, I'm not a capologist. Fair warning. The voidable years, that might be extra money tacked on. I mean, they could be, $5 million a year voidable, and that's 15 million. So it brings the total up to, what would that be? 40 million, 5 years, $40 million deal with the last 3 years at 5 million voidable. But if we're looking at the bulk of this contract that he's going to actually earn as 2 years, $25 million. The way I broke it down is obviously that's $12.5 million a season. Now, obviously, that's the annual average. That's not what they're going to get. That's not how things work. But, and we obviously got the report as well that it's going to be $3.5 million cap hit this year. So there's a few different ways to get there. But for me, to make it simple, and again, I'm not a capologist, the way I broke it down was this. So at $12.25 million, if he gets 11.25 of that, $12.5 million, if he gets 11.25 of that, turn into a bonus, right? So he gets that in cash this year. That would leave $1.25 million in salary. So then you take that 11.25 and you divide that over the 5-year length of the contract, and that would give you a $2.25 million bonus hit over the next 5 years. Stay with me here. So if you add up that 1.25 base salary that he's getting and the 2.25 over the next 5 years for the bonus, that gives you a total at $3.5 million. Now, with that, you'd get the $11.25 in cash. The rest of it would be prorated out across the contract for that 2.25. So after his second year, those 3 years become voided. They're still on the hook for $2.25 million. And what do we say? 23, 24, 25. They'd be paying him for not being on the roster. That would be just dead cap money, and that's how that works. Next year, instead of getting paid 12.5, he would be getting $14.75 million for his salary next year. The 12.5 and the 2.25 million on top of that. So again, I'm not a capologist. I'm just looking at some things that I've seen and read around the league, how pushing the numbers down, kicking the can works. That's what I figured. But again, we don't have all the contract numbers. You said something about $4 million next year. That could be possible too. If it was 4.75, maybe he got that. Maybe he got the whole 11. Maybe he got $20.25 million in bonus right away, and now they're spreading it over that.
They said it was 17.5 is what he was guaranteed at signing. Was 17.5. That was the last piece that came out. So that's probably what would factor into that.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where who knows until the real numbers come out. Everyone's reporting. Everyone's trying to be the first to report numbers. But just based off the first numbers that we got from me and Rappaport, that's one way that they could push it down. Now, I'm not saying that is, but that's one way they could push it down the road is by structuring it like that. So either way, hell of a deal for the Bucs. Levante David's coming back. I mean, I had him as 12 is like really where I wanted to be. 12.5, anything over than that, I would be like, love your LVD, but maybe it's time for you to, go to Cleveland or something like that. And I know fans don't want to hear that, but he's 31. He's going to be 32, 33 the next 2 years of the contract. He hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. He's still that tenacious player that we've seen. Everybody saw what he did to Travis Kelce for the most part in the Super Bowl. Still one of the best coverage. At one point, I think like week 8 it was, he was rated as the 3rd best coverage player in the league. Not linebacker. You heard player out of cornerbacks, out of safeties. He was the third best in coverage. He's still got a lot of left in the tank, and it's great for Devin White. It's great for his development. They love playing. Obviously, you saw Devin White come out and post on Twitter right away. You know that he was excited about that. So I think it's a great deal, great value signing. It's something that the Buccaneers don't traditionally do, is push money down the road. They've actually really never have done it. But they're in a different situation. As you said, you know, they have a chance to win a Super Bowl. So if you're going to do it now. Worry about the ramifications later. You got Brady for 2 more years, maybe 3 years left, depending on if that third year is an option year or whatnot. Still kind of hearing whispers here and there on what it's going to be. But this is the time, the opportunity to do it. And I think they'll do it with a few other players, Shaq Barrett definitely being one. I think you'll see it with some of these guys they bring back, Ndamukong Suh, Antonio Brown, Gronkowski. Give them some likely to be achieved incentives and push those cap hits, because the incentives will be on next year's cap. When they have the third most projected cap space in the league, obviously that was been into with the Levante David signing, but they still project in the top 5 of cap space in the league next year. So you have plenty of room to do it. So you know, I'm thrilled with the signing.
Yeah, we might as well keep pushing it back as long as we can with a couple other guys as well. Like you mentioned, Shaq Barrett, we might see it, AB, et cetera, Gronk, et cetera. I think Stunna said Gronk's free agency showcase is airing on NFL Network. Technically, the Super Bowl. That's kind of funny, but we'll see what happens. We do think they'll end up. But, yeah, this Levante David contract was great, in my opinion, for both David and the Bucs. It was reported he was Cleveland was interested in him. Obviously, you know, they probably would have gave him a lot of money. He chose the Bucs, hometown discount for the Bucs. We respect that. But what we have been seeing, we've been seeing a ton of free agents today. Before we get into Cody, Bucco, and Stunna's opinion on this, a lot of free agents today have been released who just got signed last year or 2 years ago. So I think teams might be a little more hesitant perhaps to be throwing around this big money to guys to come to their squads. I mean, we've seen the Raiders keep cutting these free agents. They just signed a few off seasons ago. Malcolm Butler got released today. Couple other guys, veterans, have been released too. So maybe Levante wouldn't have gotten that big contract, but all signs pointed to that he probably would have. So Bucco, we'll start with you here. How you feeling?
I mean, Levante David obviously would have gotten more money per year from Cleveland or whomever insert linebacker needy team here. They would have definitely given him 2 years more money than what we gave him. My initial thought was somewhere in this ballpark, like 3 years, 36, but fully guarantee it. Something like that would be how we keep him. So this is even more team friendly than what I envisioned, but I don't think the man wants to go anywhere. He endured 9 years of suckage to finally reach the pinnacle. You're not leaving Tampa for fucking Cleveland. That's just stupid. Take that, Mary Kay Cabot. But anyway, glad to have him here. He's going to retire a Buck. He's going to go down in history as one of the, pillars of great defense that we've had through the history of this organization. Future Hall of Famer in my book. So obviously I'm ecstatic about it, and I'm not a big fan of kicking the can down the road on these cap. Bruce Allen got us in a bunch of shit back in the early 2000s doing it this way. I understand when you have that window open, you jump through it. So, we'll make some exceptions now, but let's not make a habit of this, fellas. Keep it the way we're going.
Yeah, you could get, in some trouble down the road quickly if that keeps happening. A lot of money going a lot of different places down the road. Different example, but the Mets are still paying Bobby Bonilla. There's
Bobby Bonilla Day.
Yeah, Bobby Bonilla Day. There's a national
every
day.
July something, July 15th or something like that is Bobby Bonilla Day.
Yeah, he's still getting a couple $1 million, I think, for still like another decade. So
it's ridiculous. The Mets are morons.
Some of these things are crazy. Cody, your thoughts on this Levante and pushing the money down the pipe thing?
I agree. It sucks to kick the can down the road. Like, we see what it's done with the Saints. Like, they're still over. They're not going to be able to re-sign Hendrickson. Like, it sucks, but at the same time, we've got a window. Another 2, probably 3-year window that like we have a legit chance to repeat. So like I think you got to go all in. You have to take your
Absolutely.
chances when you have a chance. Like you just got to. You know, if we weren't close or we weren't quite there, I would definitely not be on board with it. But we're there. A guy like Levante, you got to get him back. Him and Devin White together. You know, Levante deserves to retire Buck. I saw at one point Sport Track had him valued at like 14 to 16 million a
Yeah.
year.
In
I was
the
thinking,
Bobby
man,
Wagner range. Yeah.
yeah, I was thinking
Yeah.
that's, I don't know about that. And on another pod, I had ranked it Shaq, Godwin, Levante. I would hate to lose Levante, but I don't know. We don't have to worry about that. So Levante is
That leadership matters. Like to
yeah,
me, Shaq Barrett's the more productive player, but JPP and his leadership and what he means to the gel of the locker room. Levante David, his leadership, what he means to the gel of the locker room. I think those two guys are more important than even a more productive player like Shaq Barrett. So,
The thing about go ahead.
No, that's it.
I was gonna say the thing about Levante is that why I think he was third on a lot of people's list is the emergence of Devin White. If Devin White wasn't who he was, I mean, we're all sitting here. We all know what Levante David is capable of. I mean, people want to throw out Bobby Wagner. People want to throw out Luke Kuechly, but people don't want to recognize that Levante David's stats are comparable and in some instances even better than both of those guys.
Okay.
We're over here saying, $12 million, $14, $16 million. Well, that's just because we expect him to do the thing that we expect him to do, which is to take a hometown discount to finish his career with the Bucs. But in reality, that's his market, and he took a huge discount to come with and stay where he was comfortable with, stay where he went through the sweat and the blood and the tears and the failures over and over again, and then to reach the pinnacle. To come back and want to play and win with his brothers. And I mean, you saw his Instagram post and, one more with my dogs, and, one more with my guys. And that's what he wants to do. He wants to come back, then he wants to play with his boys. And I can't blame him for that. What does it say? Grinding in the trenches with my dogs. No better feeling. 2 more. Yeah. So, I mean, that's how he feels. And we have to just be thankful for that because he could have got the Bobby Wagner, Luke Kuechly money. And, hey, he didn't. He chose to take a discount to help everyone come back, structured his contract in the way he did. And, if they can bring back Shaq, which Albert Breer, pretty dialed in with the NFL, used to be at the NFL Network, does Monday morning quarterback, has already said that they're already in talks with Shaq Barrett on a long-term deal. And real talks, not just like, hey, what do you want? Hey, what are you doing? But, real good faith talks about trying to bring him back. So, I say 2 down, 1 to go, and bring back these other guys, and we're ready to roll. I don't even mean to rhyme, but I just did.
It's like that old saying from, remember the Titans, the attitude reflects leadership. Tom Brady taking less money, obviously one of the best at his position. Levante David taking money, obviously one of the best at his position. How are you going to look those guys in the eye, your brothers, your brethren, and say you took less for the team to win as a team? I think, honestly, there's a trickle-down effect with guys following the example. So hopefully that continues down with Shaq. But that guy, again, 2 years of excellent production after being, on the bench for so long in Denver. He's got him 2 rings now. Now he wants the checkbook. So you really can't fault him, but, you got to hope at least that, he wants to stay here and try to do this again.
Another guy, I remember Mike Evans, I think it was like the day after the Super Bowl, was calling them saying, let me restructure. I want to get everybody back. And that goes back to what you're saying about leadership. And you got guys like Mike Evans, Tom Brady, Levante David doing
Ali
that.
Marpet.
Ali Marpet. Like, I mean, it just
Ali Marpet doesn't restructure. We don't have Antonio Brown on this team.
Yeah. They like playing together. I think they like Bruce Arians. Like, I've never heard, like, all the players seem to love Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles. It's just it's unique chemistry our team's got. And
we're going to lose, they booze.
Yeah, if Braid didn't restructure, we might not have had Braid on the team. Like, he saved himself perhaps restructuring last offseason, and, he freed up a little bit of money there as well. So, however you can get it, you got to be able to get it. That would be incredible if we could lock Shaq up to a long-term contract. Stunna, I know you said you've had your doubts about keeping Shaq. Do you think he stays or do you think he goes?
I don't know, man. It really depends on the market. I tweeted some stuff about Hassan Reddick being available. Shaq, I really, like I said, he could stay because he likes bowls and he likes the area. But if he wants to get paid, he's gonna have to go. You know what I mean? And I think he wants to get paid. Real quick on Levante David, another draft pick, 2012 draft pick. He's been a pillar in the community and on the team. And he put up all the stats playing outside linebacker where, Wagner and Kuechly were playing middle linebacker. So he was playing one side of the field and making all them tackles. So he definitely someone to be respected. I would love to have Shaq back, but just if I'm being honest, I don't see it.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because I think someone said, Joshua said that Levante's been through all the bad times. Speaking of all the bad times, Gerald McCoy was a guy who went through a lot of bad times. Bucco's already shaking his head about it down there. I see. Yeah, Joshua, go on.
I just want to say something about Shaq. So what did Shaq make last year on the tag? What, 15.8, right?
Yeah, for 15 something, yeah.
15.8. So let me just do some math real quick for you guys. So when Shaq Bear came in the league as an undrafted free agent, he made 1.530. That was his total. He signed his exclusive rights tender, and then he made 800,000 plus 800,000. Then he made $4 million his first year with the Buccaneers, and then last year he made 15.8 million. We'll say Shaq has made 22 million in his career the last 6 years he's played. Yeah, good money, not life-changing money. Some would say take out taxes, agent fees, all that stuff, maybe around $16 million. Somewhere around there. Shaq Barrett definitely wants to break the bank and get that contract and get that money. I have a question for you guys. Is looking at the top of the market, you have Khalil Mack at 23 as outside linebacker. So if you want to include him as a defensive end, which he has that grievance against the Bucs about the tag, you're looking at 27 million with Joey Bosa, and then 4 other players making 20 million. Where do you feel comfortable? Now, Zadarius Smith is making 16. Robert Quinn is making 16. Matt Judon made 15 on the tag as well last year. What's your number? Shaq comes to you and says, this is what I want. And you say, that's too high for us. This is where we're at. What is your number to bring Shaq Barrett back?
Anything north of 18 million, I don't want it. 18 million, I think, is right where he fits. He is not, overly dominant for years upon years, like Khalil Mack, like Aaron Donald, like JJ, like Bosa, who made all this money. Yeah, he did. He did solid for 2 years with us. He did. And he played very well. Technically, both of them were contract years. Played very well. I'm not discounting, the 27.5 sacks he's given us for the $20 million that we paid him. I think that's fair. But the man's 30. The man, he is trending downward. He's not going to get better. So you give him a long-term deal, paying him north of 18 million, you're just going to screw yourself. And you got, dead money that when you cut him, or you got an underperforming player grossly overpaid. So I would say, 3 years, 18 million per at the most. If it's more than that, he's got to go.
So that would be 3 years, 54 million. You're looking at roughly. Cody, I'll let you answer, and then Stunna, and then I'll give my thoughts on the situation.
I'm thinking more like 19, 20. 20 would be my absolute max. I would try and keep it 3 years, maybe, do some stuff in with incentives, but ideally I would like to keep him around 19, but I think whether it's with us or someone else, I think he's going to get 19 or 20 million a year. So I think
definitely he's going to get it. Somebody's dumb enough to do it, and Indianapolis got some money to spend.
I wouldn't even necessarily say it's dumb enough. I mean, he may not be like on the level of like Mac or one of them, but you don't replace Shaq Barrett in those pressures very easily. He is an important player to our defense. I would be fine.
Like the league last year.
Yeah.
He was second in the league to Aaron Donald, right, in pressures.
Wherever you looked, he was either first, second, or third. Everyone had their own stats. He was top 3.
Top 3 in pressure, so that's big. That's big. But how much of it is Shaq and how much of it is – because I remember we had a lull there between week 6 and about week 13, week 14, where we were not hitting the quarterback at a regular clip. And there's a big piece missing during that time frame. And then here, the last 2 games of the playoffs, pressure's picked up immensely against Green Bay and Kansas City. I think you can plug and play with a Ngakwe, with a Hassan Reddick, maybe even kick the tires on a 1-year deal reclamation project to Melvin Ingram. And I think you can replicate that production without spending the money. Now, I'm saying Shaq Barrett is good and a great player, and I want him to stay. What I'm saying is I'm not paying the guy fucking $20 million. I think it would be dumb to do that. But.
Yeah, Stunna, what are your thoughts on Shaq's number? You got Bucco at 18, and you got Cody saying around 19 or 20. What's your max on Shaq?
Well, what was it? JJ Watt got 17 million last year.
Yeah.
So that's my range right there. Yeah, because JJ didn't earn that money. So
No.
I would look like maybe the first year 20 and then escalate down to 17 or between 16 and 17.
Yeah, I would try. Go on, Josh.
I just want to comment on what Bucco Bruce said because I know where he was leading to is the Vita Vea thing there. But if you look at some of the quarterbacks they played, Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, obviously Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Brees, those guys, a lot of those guys get the ball out quick. And that's one thing that you saw too, is that the urgency, because the pressures were coming, that they had to get the ball out a little quicker than they normally would, especially, Drew Brees, Slant Boy and whatnot. He's always getting the ball out quick, but just a little dig at Michael Thomas. But, so that's one of the reasons why these guys weren't getting home as much either, because the ball was coming out quicker. Now, when you do bring a guy like Vita Vea back, who's collapsed in the bucket, who has these guys have to roll out to the left or step to the right, that's allowing it for a guy like JPP, a guy like Shaq, a guy like Ndamukong Suh, who's no longer double teamed because Vita Vea is there to get in and get those sacks and get those and get home and finish the quarterback off and not just pressure him. But I do think Vita Vea does play a huge part, obviously. But I don't think you can kind of discredit those pressures because he didn't get home when, they knew that, hell, I got JPP on one side, I got Shaq on the other side. They're coming after me, and I got to get this ball out quick.
Yeah,
a negative thing also is that Shaq went against the right tackle, so he should have been winning those matchups.
Yeah, I mean,
no, that's not so much a thing.
Tight end chip.
I really think
running
the
back
evolution of the tackle position with the way teams flip-flop their ends, your right tackle's got to be equally as good as your left tackle anymore. Guys like Jack Conklin, guys like Tristan Wirfs. There's a lot of right tackles that are seemingly as important as your left tackles. No, not necessarily a bookend anymore. It's kind of you need both or you have none type of deal. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm maxing out at 18 with Bucco here on Shaq, and I do love Shaq, and I want to have him back. 18 million, still a lot of money, and he gets less taxes in Florida, so I think that's incentive. He gets to stay in the great state of Florida, and he gets another very good chance at winning, although he has 2 rings now, so that necessarily doesn't impact him as much as it may do other free agents like a Reddick chasing the ring, even like a JJ Watt we've seen perhaps still ring hunting. So the ring argument isn't as yeah, I know. Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree with you.
JJ
I agree with
them
you.
dollar signs.
It's more
Yeah,
the pundit. No, it's more the pundits putting it in people's heads. And his buddies play in Arizona too, but that's a whole nother story. But nonetheless, I do think that Shaq Barrett deserves money. Can we give him all what he deserves? Because as we said with Levante, Shaq's definitely going to get opportunities at more money than what we could offer him. It's just if Shaq's going to take the 18 million, which is realistic. I mean, teams might throw $22-23 million a year at Shaq Barrett, 2 years. I could see it going 2 years, 50 million for teams that desperate. I mean, we got teams out there that throw money at free agents. We see it every offseason. Records are set every single offseason at current positions getting paid free agent wise. So it would not.
How beautiful is that, Tones? This is the first year I can remember we're looking at signing our own people instead of other people's, trash. We
Right.
want to sign all of our guys back. I think that's a
Last year
beautiful thing.
also, Bruce wanted to bring back the front seven.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bruce
So-
did.
So I just went back because I wanted to look up and the games that they played without Villa there. Teams that had no tight end or not a really good tight end, they let up sacks. Jared Cook let up a sack. Carolina let up a sack. Teams like the Raiders, no sacks with Mike Wall, Darren Waller. The Giants with Evan Ingram, no sacks. Even New Orleans with Jared Cook let up a sack, but the Rams, no sacks. Two good tight ends there. Kansas City, no sacks. Not that the tight end helps much there, but and I didn't even get to Minnesota, Atlanta, Detroit, or Atlanta to see what they did. But I mean, there's a trend there. When you have a good tight end that's chipping, usually they're lining up on the right side of the line of scrimmage.
I thought he had a strip fumble against KC.
Against KC, Shaq had a strip fumble, you're thinking?
The
Stunna?
first game?
Yeah, I think
In
so.
week 12.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I think so. I think he did that one game.
I'm not certain, and we're just arguing semantics at this point. I get it. The guy's a great player. No one wants him to walk, but at the same juncture, you
Even
put
if he
yourself
did,
in a
that
hole.
proves my point. No good tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody wants Shaq. It's just, it falls under the umbrella of affordability. And
Yeah.
at this point, do you want Shaq back, or would you perhaps rather be able to get all these other guys back plus another DN and still be spending the same, if not less money on that? So we'll see what happens. I think we all want Shaq back, but we can't blame Shaq for getting a payday. Joshua broke it down greatly. He has not been paid a lot of money yet in terms of it's good money, but not great money. He's averaged, I think, 2-point-something million a year. Perhaps it's been in his first 6 years of the NFL. It's led him to 2 rings, so he doesn't really have to win anymore. But he would like to get paid, so that's a big interesting factor there.
And I'm with Cody. 19 million is my number. I'm not going above that.
So we got Cody at 19, Joshua at 19, Bucco and myself went 18. Stunna, what you go, 17?
17.
He's cheap. That dude is stingy.
Yeah.
I wanted to see what's behind door number 2. Worked out last time.
17 to 19 is that number. So if you get him at 18, I'll be ecstatic.
I think it's a great price. I think you take care of your guy that's been productive for you. Hell, before Shaq and before JPP, who's our last guy with double-digit sacks? Wasn't it fucking Warren Sapp?
Simeon.
Simeon, I think, in 05.
I love Simeon Rice. He doesn't get enough credit.
He's a Hall of Famer. He's getting snubbed because he was a fucking weirdo and he hated the media. But, either way. He's better than Michael Strahan, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get what takes this Bucs 02-03 Super Bowl team so long to be producing these Hall of Famers. We've obviously seen it, and they keep getting snubbed. Rondé Barber more than deserves to be in as well. So there's a couple of guys, and Rondé's getting his. He's coming. But speaking of former Bucs, Gerald McCoy, center of attention. He's cheerleading for the Bucs all of a sudden. He tweeted today, "Hey, welcome back, Levante. This damn guy is – I love Gerald. I loved him during his time here. He did a lot of good for Tampa, but he never won here. And now he's acting like he won here or something. He's already acting like he's part of the team or something. He wants to come back now, I guess. Joshua, I want to get your opinion. Gerald McCoy, does he make sense in Tampa? A lot of people are saying the vet min, but I don't know if they realize, Gerald McCoy could probably get a little more than the vet minimum elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, he might be able to get a little bit more, but he also, here's the deal. He's 33 years old, coming off a torn Achilles. That scares a lot of teams. I would make the Bucs nervous. And, I mean, again, if he wants to come back here, depending on what happens with Will Golston, I mean, he's got a $5.5 million cap hit. If they decide that they need to move on from him to free up space, when he first came out, he was projected as a potential 5-tech. I know he's been playing a lot more as a 3 in those positions, in the 4-3 defense. But, hey, if he wants to come here and for a veteran minimum and get on board, and I'm sure Levante's going to have to pull him aside and say, hey, this isn't your team, Gerald. You know, you got to lay low. Don't be all with the media and have all these guys around. I was talking to Brent Allen yesterday, and he pretty much explained it that, you know, Gerald McCoy, you know, always had the media crowds around him and surrounded, and he'd have to come in here, lay back, and realize that, hey, he's coming in as a contributor, and that's the bottom line. And, you know, he's coming in for a cheap deal. And otherwise, other than that, I don't want him. I mean, see how he does in training camp, but I'm not giving him a multi-year deal. I'm not giving him anything more than the veteran minimum, especially coming out of
it ain't even about the money. The guy I saw in Carolina for 2 years and the guy that tried to play in Dallas before he ruptured his Achilles was nowhere near the guy that we've had for 9 years. I mean, I like Gerald. He was a nice piece to a team that was trying to build something. You know, he made a lot about him, cried a lot about people, you know, giving him shit about being a nice guy and stuff. Either way, moving forward, it would be cool kind of in the sense that I wanted Sue over McCoy in the draft, but the Lions took him. Have we ever seen an instance where two guys that were picked right next to each other in the draft play on the same team eventually? I think, you know, there's a lot of little small stories, and if he can be
Simeon and Keith on 96.
Oh, there. Thank you, sir. Good job. Look at Stunna. No, seriously, can he be worse than McClendon? Can he be worse than Nacho? Can he be worse than, you know, the young guy Khalil Davis we got in the 5th round last year? Probably not. He could probably be equally as good as those guys in a rotational sense, but can he do it? Is he physically capable of doing it? Will he accept that little bit of money? There's a lot of what ifs involved with that. And I say, you know, you get 2 ifs. That third if is done. You know what I mean?
And Nacho and McClendon, guys like that could get paid, not like huge, but, you know, just off the Super Bowl, they could demand more money than Gerald's for sure. A guy like Nacho gets like 2 years, $8 million somewhere. I could definitely see that type of deal coming for Nacho, you know, for backup depth or even starting depth. Like we gave Bo Allen after he won the Super Bowl with the Eagles. I could see that sort of contract coming for a guy like Nacho. So if we could get Gerald for cheaper than that, and, you know, if he wants to do that, and, you know, I still want Sue back. So if Gerald's cool with taking the back seat, we'll see if that's a possibility. Cody, you want the old number 93 back. You know, he helped a lot of people up. He was kind of soft in his time in Tampa. Do you want that attitude back in the Bay?
No, I do not want his losing attitude back here. I don't want his nice guy attitude back here. We're finally got physical and nasty on defense. I mean, it's nothing against Gerald. Look, he's a great dude. I don't mean to badmouth him. The other thing is I don't think he's much of a fit in a 3-4. Like, you know, maybe like a situational pass rusher type thing, but like, is that worth him back in the building? Is it worth the attitude? The coach and defensive coordinator have already moved on from him once. So I don't – he can want to come back here all he wants. I'm sure a lot of players love to come to Tampa, but that doesn't mean they want him. So I don't want him, and I don't think he'll be here.
Yeah, Stunna, what say you? Do you think he's coming back, or do you not want him?
It's all about the Benjamins, baby. It's funny because it's just the Brady effect. Is he going to come in and play Nacho's role for Nacho's money just to play with Tom Brady?
Is this going to happen? What Nacho does. No, he can't 2-gap like Nacho. That's not what his fit.
I think he can rush the nose. I think he can rush from the nose tackle. I mean, I've seen him rush from the nose tackle over the years. And that's like some people, the OBJ rumors. I'll take OBJ now, and he can replace AB. Heck yeah, if he wants to play for AB's money, you know. And I think the Browns have to eat up the majority of the all his guaranteed money is gone, so he's playing on a base salary anyway. So it's just a Brady effect. Is people like Gerald McCoy going to come in here and play as a situational pass rusher? You know, Gerald McCoy only gave us like 3 plays a game anyway as a starter, so that would be perfect anyway.
That dude was tapping his helmet like a wide receiver, wasn't he? Yeah.
He gave us a sack in the first quarter and then disappear.
No, listen. I mean, if we really paid attention to what Bowles was doing, especially there at the end, we kind of ran more of a hybrid 2-4-5 defense, you know, than we did a 3-4 or a 4-3. And I need my 2 tackles being able to 2-gap, play the run on their way to the quarterback. And Gerald was always trying to get skinny and shoot a snap count. He wasn't really wanted to eat up a bunch of double teams and do the muddy work. So me personally, I don't think he's a fit to what we're doing now. I think he's a shell of what he was 3 years ago when he left. And I don't like the fact that he went to Carolina and was talking shit with Cam Newton. I'm still kind of salty about that. So no, I'm good. I pass.
Yeah, I mean, you're completely right. If you look what they did towards the end, there wasn't a time really that they didn't have three cornerbacks on the field with SMB, Dean, and Carlton Davis. And you had, especially when Vita came back, when you have Vita and Sue rushing and eating up blockers, they command at least a bare minimum of 3, sometimes 4 blockers, depending on what they're doing. And that leaves your edge rushers, wide open one-on-ones and potentially even, one-on-nuns, as we saw in the Super Bowl, where they're just rushing that first play of the game. I mean, Shaq just gone right after Patrick Mahomes. No one blocked him. No one touched him because they're trying to take care of Sue and Vita Vea at the same time. And I don't think McCoy fits it. But like I said, hey, that's your minimum. No guaranteed money. He wants to come into camp, see if he can find a role, find a fit. I'll bring him in, but that's about it. I'm not giving him anything else. You'd be a camp body, if anything.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I'm in the same boat as you guys, and I do like Khalil Davis and Benning Patoa. They showed. Yeah, but I cannot pronounce his last name. I think
Benning Patoa.
Potoai. I think we've all tried to pronounce it on one.
All right, show off. I can't say that.
It's my job to know how to say it.
Yeah, thank you. That's why we have Joshua here, because he could clear a guy's name that we all thought was Potato at once. So, but I do like Khalil Davis and Benning Potoai. I think I said it right. They do provide good two-gap depth, I believe. Like Bucco was saying, they could grow as well, and they're young nose tackles who come cheap, as opposed to a guy like Gerald. And this is all speculation too, because we don't even know what's going to happen with Sue yet, if he's going to stay, if he's going to retire, what's going to happen there. I think he's stay or retire. I don't think he's going to go elsewhere personally. He's contemplated retirement for a couple of off seasons now. We'll see what happens with him. I just want to talk about a couple other signings that we made today. Quickly, little smaller ones. We've tendered a couple guys, etc. Once again, we are here with Joshua Allen from the Bucs Report. Also has his own show, the Audible. Go check him out over there. Fantastic stuff. He writes for the Bucs Report, has great content there, etc. Does some really good things there. So now we're going to ask, out of these 3 little moves we made, Triner, Hudson, O'Connor, we've tendered or signed all these guys. We'll start with Joshua, then we'll go to Stunna, and we'll just kind of go in a circle. Out of Pat O'Connor, Tanner Hudson, and Zach Triner, perhaps, what are your favorite move out of these little 3 moves? I know they were overshadowed by the bigger ones today, but these guys are still Super Bowl contributors all throughout last season.
Yeah, well, they also tendered Jeremiah Ledbetter, too, which is another defensive tackle. So pretty much these are all exclusive rights free agents, guys. They don't have any options. It's either play with the Bucs or you don't play at all. So pretty much depending on how many years of service they have as exclusive rights free agents. Shaq Barrett was an exclusive rights free agent in his 4th year. That's what they can get tendered at. So I believe someone like Zach Triner, who's been in his 4th year as an exclusive rights free agent, gets around $850,000. Same thing with a guy like Pat O'Connor, $850,000. Jeremiah Ledbetter, and I think is going into his 3rd year or his 2nd year. It's like $650,000, something like that. And same thing with Tanner Hudson. It's like $720,000. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's something around there. So they're bottom of the roster. They're lower 51. These guys aren't even counted against your cap right now. That's how cheap they are. As far as what signing is more important, I think they're all pretty important. But I mean, if I had to pick one of these guys to stay and the rest to go, Zach Triner he's your long snapper. The continuity he has with the punter and the kicker and the holder, which is also the punter. I mean, that's what you need. You need consistency in that spot. And once you find a good long snapper, he floated around the league for 2 years. I wrote this in my article. He was with the Jets, and then he was with the Packers, I believe, for part of training camp. They released him, and then he found a home with us in 2019. So this is his 2nd year or going into his 3rd year now with the team. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a guy who consistently gets the job done, be consistent. But I do like Pat O'Connor. Obviously, he had that block against Denver. He had his first sack against Minnesota. Jeremiah Ledbetter came and stepped up for a little bit, got activated to the active roster. All these guys played on the active roster. So it's not like they, whether they played a lot or played significant snaps. I mean, Tanner Hudson kind of had some good plays. Only caught like 3 catches for like 46 touchdowns, but Tom targeted him in the end zone once. So I think he's more Cam Braid insurance because he's more of a receiving guy. Anthony O'Clair is your more blocking guy. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. But Zach Triner for me is the guy that, if I could only hold on to one of them, which they have no choice but to play with the Bucs, that's the guy I'm holding on to.
Yeah, Triner, I know for sure he did play with Green Bay for a little bit, or at least tried to play for Green Bay. I know a guy who had a couple of his memorabilia items. Triner is a good dude. I actually have one of his jerseys, so he's an incredible guy, and he's a good player. Yeah, that's a good tidbit to know that these guys have to play for the Bucs or they have no choice. We're just playing hypotheticals here. In theory, which one of these guys is the one you would want back if they could leave or if they had to leave? Pat O'Connor as well is from the Chicago area, so I got love for Pac. They call him Tupac around here. They actually call Pat O'Connor, so that's kind of funny. Stunna, which of these highlights the Bucs signings the most out of these 4 moves? Ledbetter, Hudson, or anyone else?
I definitely go to Pat O'Connor. I mean, he's a special teams guy. He makes plays on the kickoff. He makes plays blocking punts. He had a sack. He contributes. Tanner Hudson, obviously, I'll be looking to upgrade. I mean, he had a drop in the Super Bowl. He had drops in other games. And you get in the game, you got to make plays. So probably highest on Pat O'Connor, probably lowest on Tanner Hudson.
Yeah, Bucco, what say you?
Well, of course, the obvious answer is Josh there. The long snapper is never thought of, never heard of until you realize you don't have one.
Yeah.
So that position, once you have one that can do it, yeah, those guys are the unsung heroes. So obviously, being we have one, there was not a lot of snap infractions on this team. I'll take that, especially for 800 Gurr. That's a vital position. Pat O'Connor, we love him. He's made some great plays. The punt block. Just the image of him, in that game against the Falcons where he was the one initiating the pressure on Matt Ryan, having him running for his life. It was beautiful to see the young man start to show up. But these are all vital guys. Ledbetter, there's your replacement for Nacho or McClendon. He was solid at the University of Georgia. I'm surprised he hasn't been a better pro thus far in his career. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, Cody, who do you like out of this crew, out of these guys coming back? I kind of agree with Bucco. I do like Ledbetter as well. He is good depth, especially if a few of these other guys leave.
Yeah, I like Ledbetter too. But I gotta go with Joshua and Bucco. You gotta have a long snapper. He's cheap. He can do it. We know he can do it. So him. But I like Ledbetter as some depth there. We don't have a whole lot of proven depth. Not that he's necessarily proven, but those two.
Yeah, I think all these dudes are viable options. I think Stunna has a point with Pat O'Connor. He has shown some signs this past season, the past Super Bowl season. He had some good plays on special teams, and I think he can maybe provide some depth off the edge. We've seen a little bit, so I think Pat O'Connor is a good one. Zach Triner, though, too, long snapper credentials, long snapper stability. I'd go Triner, then O'Connor, then Ledbetter, then Hudson probably. Nothing against Hudson, but we're loaded there. So it's just good to have all these guys back, though. But we are loaded at tight end. Stunna did say Hudson didn't make some plays, but not a bad dude, just probably 4 out of 4 for there. So anyways, we have a couple other guys.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. 4 for 4. I mean, all those guys are contributors on this team at some point, whether it be special teams, mostly special teams, or in the offensive defensive game plan. I mean, it's a no-brainer to bring all these guys back, especially on the offseason roster. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree with you, and never feel sorry. You could always butt in. I'm talking too much anyways, probably, as I always do. But, I see Bucco nodding his head over there.
I agree.
Yeah, I know you do, bro.
I need to hear
I
more.
tend to ramble, man. So just stop me at any time. Just like.
No, we love your rambles. Often lead to great, great points and great ideas and great thoughts. So you're never rambling useless stuff. If you were rambling useless stuff, we might have a problem. But you're not doing that. So we appreciate that. And we do want to hear, you said at the beginning of the show, you have a couple under the radar targets for the Bucs perhaps this offseason. Is that right?
Yeah, so there's a few guys I think that they could go out and sign. If you look at this team, let's theoretically say they bring everybody back but Leonard Fournette. Even if they do bring back Leonard Fournette, you still need a pass-catching running back. There's a couple of guys out there that I really like. Obviously, everyone knows his first name that I'm going to throw out there. Anyone want to say it? Because we all know it. James White. James Lloyd is the guy that is on everyone's wish list, because of his relationship with Brady and his ability to catch balls out of the backfield. You saw him when Cam Newton had a down year because Cam Newton doesn't know how to throw a football anymore. That's besides the point. Another guy, Rex Burkhead, his teammate, another guy who has familiarity with Brady, can catch the ball in the backfield. Maybe not as prolific as James White, but a guy I'm looking at. Two guys from San Francisco. One guy that had really high hopes, never worked out, so he was injured, Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon's a guy that I would definitely look into possibly bringing in here, and his counterpart in Tevin Coleman. We've obviously seen a lot of Tevin Coleman with the Falcons. Guy can move, catch the ball out of the backfield. Health has been an issue down there. We have one of the best offensive lines in the league. They're great at pulling. They're great at getting out in front of screens. You saw what Tristan Wirfs did as a rookie. Plus you have great tight end blocking tight ends in Gronk, and if OJ sticks around, he's a very underrated blocker as well. So the other guy that I'm looking at too, Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack's coming off a torn Achilles. Obviously you want to check that out, make sure it's good, but he's a guy who's not going to sign a big-term deal, I don't think. Long-term deal, I don't think. I think it's going to be a one-year.
And played at USF. USF in Tampa.
Yeah.
And he's from the area. When I went to Bucs Colts last year, I actually sat around the Mack family. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's a guy right there who might look at this spot and say, hey, let me rebuild my worth and also try to win a Super Bowl at the same time. So that's one guy. Another position you're looking at, let's say they keep Cameron Brate, OJ Howard, Gronk. I think you're pretty good at tight end. But in the draft, that might be an issue because Gronk is probably coming back on a one-year deal. How many times does Cam Brate restructure if he does restructure? And OJ Howard's playing on his fifth-year option. So in the draft, there's a few guys I like, especially in the later rounds. So Trey McKinney's one of them. I think that he's a guy who played at FSU, if you guys don't know. Didn't really ever find his rhythm because of the different coaching hires and everything like that. From one to another, went to Georgia. Had a pretty decent season, although he missed a bunch of games because he had a surgery in the beginning. But the guy has all the receiving skills, so that's a guy I'm looking at, not necessarily as a free agent, but as a draft. And then the biggest spot, who here is comfortable with Anthony Nelson? Please tell me. Anyone here comfortable with him? If one of these guys go down?
Year.
Not me. I am not comfortable with Anthony Nelson being the top backup on this team. Even if you draft a guy, even if you get Jalen Phillips, who's touted as one of the best pass rushers in the league, maybe going to be available around there. Joseph Asai from Texas, one of those guys. Carlos Basham, one of those guys. They're still going to need time, and they're going to need to get acclimated to the NFL game. Obviously, if Shaq and JPP are here, they're learning from two of the best. But veterans, so I could see, might come down and play for cheap, and you might be able to fit him in. Everson Griffin, a guy who has floated around a lot during the offseason, is a guy who come in here and be a potential rusher for the guys. Ryan Kerrigan is my favorite. I would love to get Ryan Kerrigan here. He's not the guy of old, but can still give you 5 sacks out of the playing in a limited role. And another guy, Justin Houston from Indianapolis. These guys might be able to get a little bit more money, but at the same time, in a year where cash is going to be tight, guys. We just saw a letter come out from DeMaurice Smith to the players, pretty much saying, hey, we're going to be at 180. The concessions we made so you guys can get paid your full salaries. The concessions we made so your salaries aren't in escrow. The concessions we made to start the season to be able to get everyone, the money that they deserved and that they're owed. We're pretty much going to be at 180. So 183, maybe 185 max. We're not seeing a big jump, even if the TV deals are done this year. So you might see these guys take less money this year. So those are some of the guys I like. I don't think they go after any big name cornerbacks. I know Patrick Peterson's a name that's been thrown out there. Stephon Gilmore always making $7 million. Trade Cameron Brady in a 3rd round pick. I don't see that happening. But yeah, I mean, I think running back and edge rusher are the 2 biggest spots on this team, and probably backup offensive lineman. But I think you address that in the draft as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Justin Houston. Go on, Bucco, but I wouldn't mind Justin Houston at all on a cheap contract. That would be a real nice fit here. I personally believe he's been on nothing but winning teams with the Chiefs and the Colts, so he knows how to win.
Hasn't won one yet.
No, hasn't won one yet, and he knows how to win. So hopefully he could come here. Hopefully, hope for that ring on a cheap contract because he got a payday with Indy not too long ago. So, his pocket's pretty fat.
There's a couple of names I would add to that list that I really like the list you came up with. But another guy, pass rusher, that's a little younger. Obviously, he's got a couple screws loose, especially earlier in his career. But a guy like Aldon Smith, he still shows some flash rushing the passer. Duke Johnson, I would have him number 2 right up under a James White before I kick the tires on bum-ass Jerick McKinnon with no knees. You know what I mean? I like that list. I like where your head's at. But, yeah, we definitely need a pass-catching back. And in a year like this with the cap money, those guys are going to come maybe on a Leonard deal, a $2 million deal, and I'll take that all day long.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But let's first – we got to find out if we have our primary pass rusher. And that's got to be either Shaq Barrett or Ngakoue or – one of those type guys, or Hassan Reddick. We have to have our primary guy, and then we can worry about the little depth afterwards. Drafting the Jalen Phillips, signing Aldon Smith or Everson Griffin for depth purposes. I like those.
I completely agree. But and I think you'll see a lot of movement closer towards the draft too.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to see this rush of free agency like we usually have. I could be wrong, but, given the salary cap, and you'll see teams like the Colts and the Jags and the Jets and the Pats will have money, probably spend some money right away. But other teams are going to, the Saints. The Saints are in cap hell. They just tagged their safety, like franchise tag. Like, what are they doing over there? I don't know.
The safety that's known for getting them out of a playoff game. That guy's worth what's the tag? $13 million for a safety? Something like that? That's ridiculous.
I never know how the Saints could pull off what the hell they do every offseason. They somehow keep spiraling down the money hole, and they could afford it all. And I don't know how the hell it's possible. But I think that James White obviously would be a good one too. Jerick McKinnon, although Bucco said his bum-ass knees, he got paid a lot of money in that payday, so he would be dirt cheap. I'm sure he would come aboard for pretty cheap.
He played 5 games in 3 years? I'm not banking on that bum.
Hey, he scored a couple touchdowns last year. He had a couple flashes.
I mean, again, it's comparable what you're going to do with TJ Logan. I mean, who hasn't been able to stay healthy either. So I'm not saying I'd pay the man, but veteran minimum, come in, see what he does in camp. 90-man roster, give it a shot, yeah.
No, I'm with you. The talent was there in Minnesota. I mean, I remember watching the kid at Georgia Southern in that wing T. Triple option offense. He was a beast in college. But, I just, at this juncture, give me Duke, give me James White, or I can draft that kid at UCLA. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Felton, yeah.
Yeah, Duke Johnson's a good name, too. He could catch some passes out of the backfield. One thing that the Bucs are missing, although Lenny F. Could catch his fair share of passes, we just struggled.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
he caused interception.
He had over 70 grabs in Jacksonville one year, but I'd like to go back on film
before he got here. What happened to him?
Right, I'd like to go back on film and see, if those 70 were just dinks and dunks or if he was actually catching passes. It'd be interesting to see, but nonetheless, I think a pass catching back edge rusher. Joshua knocked it out of the park with that one. I think that those are two things that the Bucs could use, a backup edge rusher, that is, because Anthony Nelson, Bell, Gill, nothing against these guys, but if Barrett or JPP go down right now, it's looking a little thin behind those lines. And then running back, with Lenny F probably gone, getting a big payday, it's Rojo, Vaughn, and who else? So we need that pass catching back. We need that edge rushing depth, and that would be a great way to help patch up some holes on an already great team, on an already great Super Bowl team. Guys, it's been a fantastic episode this far. Any closing statements to this point before we wrap up and head out? Cody, we'll start with you.
I like the idea of pass rush depth. I think we take a running back early in the draft, maybe Williams, or like later in the draft, a Dimitri dude or Fulton. So the pass rush worries me. Everything I've read about the early pass rushers that you get in the first round, they're more like high upside guys, not so much polished. So I just don't know that the value is necessarily there in the first round with the pass rushers. So yeah, I'm hoping we go running back there, Williams, Harris, something like that. But I would absolutely love Houston here for like a backup role because, you guys are right behind the big two. And that's assuming we get Shaq back, which hasn't happened yet. We have like nothing behind them too. So
Right. Yeah, I definitely attack the edges in the draft. I'd go running back, edge rushers. We've drafted enough damn defensive backs. Jason Light, I think we've drafted more defensive backs the last 3 years than like two other teams combined. But seriously though, Josh, it'd be great to have you on. Y'all follow him over there at Bucs Report. Appreciate the insight. Some good conversation tonight, man. I'm just excited to get this thing going. The Bucs fans, just be patient. Act like you fucking been here before. And then let's have a little tact on the Twitters, okay?
Yeah, Stunna, what do you have to say for the Twitterverse before we wrap up here?
You got to take your emotion out on Twitter because it's troll country. But, I agree with everybody's per se. Now, I know it's a weak edge class, and that's actually what we need is edge in the draft. I think I would love to get one of the running backs from North Carolina or Kansas, or I would even trade up and get ETN because Puka's looking good in the pro day, but even get ETN, which would solve the pass catching and the bell cow back situation. But I love the edge from Pitt. We need interior defensive line as well because that's where we're old. We need to keep that front seven going. So we got Levante.
We're talking about Weaver?
With the edge from Pitt?
Or Tyron?
I don't know for sure. I just go by the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
There was a center from Wisconsin Whitewater, which would be a great Jason Light type pick. Yeah. A small school kid, looked great. There's an edge from Penn State. Penn State's been good to us. I like your ideal, Josh, that you wrote about trading back because we need a lot of edge and we need running backs, and we don't necessarily need to get one of the best running backs. We just need a top 5. We just need to change the pace back. If Vaughn can't get it done in a receiving back, is what we need to fortify our running back situation, and then we got Rojo that can do the rest.
Yeah, all we need is that pass catching back, and then our backfield seems to be good to go there. I think we were all in agreement. Running back and pass catching back, I should say, and a backup edge rusher. I think those are two good Bucs wish lists for the draft or for cheap free agents. Either way, however we have to do it. Joshua, it's been a blast with you tonight, my friend. Thanks again so much for joining us. Any last words we can get from you before we log off here?
I want to thank you guys for having me on here for sure. It's been a heck of a time. I love talking Buccaneers football. Glad to be back anytime. Look for the Tom Brady deal to be done pretty soon. I think it's going to come out pretty soon. 2 years, maybe probably with an option year. Definitely going to open up around $10 million this year. So hopefully in a couple of days it's going to get announced, but you really trust what you hear. So other than that, the draft, Michael Carter, Javonte Williams, both Carolina guys I like a lot. Michael Carter's a guy you could probably get at 64. Look for probably a good defensive tackle they'll take. Also, Deo Adeyingbo. If you're familiar with the name Adeyingbo, it's because the Buccaneers had Dare Adeyingbo here a few years ago, defensive tackle. He was waived and claimed by Cincinnati. Deo Adeyingbo, he's an outside linebacker from Vanderbilt. I'm absolutely in love with this prospect because he reminds me so much of JPP with the flexibility to play outside linebacker, defensive line. He's even lined up at nose tackle sometimes. He's a guy that can get after the quarterback, long arms, length. He plays a little high sometimes, but man, this guy is a stud. Problem with him, he tore his Achilles in January. But good news, he might be there in the third round for them, especially if they can trade back. So that's a guy I'm looking at for sure. The draft is going to be fun, but let's get through free agency first. Hopefully they can get Shaq back. Guys, follow me on Twitter at Joshua_C_Allen. I very much appreciate that. And if you guys are Apple users, I'm going to promote something. I hope that's not if you don't mind.
Go ahead. Keep going.
If you're Apple users, and anyone here too, if you're Apple users, go download the Locker Room app. It's a great place to have real-time discussions with other fans around the world on different sports. You can talk to athletes. I've talked to Jeff Darlington of ESPN, Cliff Averill of the Seahawks, Gerald Worthy. A bunch of different athletes are popping on there all the time. I normally do Buccaneers rooms usually on Tuesdays. And I've been doing something called Sim After Dark, where I pretty much go on PFF, PFN, the Draft Network, whatever. And we do a mock simulation together. So we go through the draft, and whoever's there, we talk about it, take that guy. Just some fun activities to pass the time until the draft and free agency gets here. But definitely, if you're an Apple user, Android's coming soon, but the Locker Room app is amazing. But guys, again, thanks for having me here. Love to do it again. Let me know.
Yeah, hopefully we can have you on once more around the draft time. What do you say, Cody? When do we love him back around the draft?
Definitely, yeah, that'd be perfect, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Joshua, your insight is top notch. More Bucs fans should be following you. I know it's not a big deal, but you are the man with a lot of great Bucs content that a lot of people got to start looking at here, because it really is great. And you broke down some great things tonight, some great stories. And, you gave us a preview of the Brady thing guys are going to go for. After we sign a couple of these guys, one of these guys, I'm going to, circle back and be like, we heard it here first. And, even in the draft too, it's really good knowledge here. So guys, go follow Joshua, as he said, Bucs Report, the Audible, all of the above. And yeah, I've seen that app you were tweeting a couple times. I've seen a couple of your tweets, and I'm going to have to start checking that out. What's it called again?
The Locker Room app.
Locker Room app.
If you're a basketball fan, they talk a lot of basketball in there too. They just had Andre Iguodala. He had a room with like Bam Adebayo, whatever, however you say his last name. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different, prominent athletes and media members around the league that are on there too. So, and you can just Q&A. You can talk with them. You can talk sports with fans and everything. So it's a great app if you have Apple. I know Cody was sad because he's a lowly Android user, but if you have Apple, definitely get on there.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to get on there. The Locker Room app, I'm going to have to take note and remember that one when I log off. Going to have to look into it. Joshua, thanks again so much. Everybody, Krew, Cody, Stunna. Looks like we lost Bucco here, perhaps, but thanks.
I'm here.
Hey, there we go. Thanks, everyone, so much. It's been a great episode of the Buccateers. Until next time, next week we look forward to another special guest, Ken Barrett from Buck What You Heard podcast is hopping on, and he's very good with the cap as well. So, we keep chugging along this off season. And
also with Bucs Report.
Yeah. Also the Bucs Report. It's kind of crazy. Everything, right before your eyes has that little BR in it, and you don't even realize it. It's like, damn, Evan Winter just went to the Bucs Report, I'm pretty sure. So
yeah.
A lot of good guys, a lot of good teams, a lot of good team players like Joshua, Evan, Gene, et cetera, at the Bucs Report. So
a lot of good content that Bucs fans need to follow instead of these idiots on the Citro Twitter poll. But hey, that's not me.
Yeah,
I won't say no names, but yeah, there's definitely some guys out there who are definitely clickbaity and want you to want to just argue with you, but
Yeah.
and that's media outlets too, not just Twitter users. But we won't get into
Don't
that.
follow Stroud or Jenna Lane. Follow the Buck Report, dog.
Hey, I didn't say it. I appreciate it.
Hey, yeah, we love Stroud, we love Lane, but Buck Report's a real news outlet, the real news factor. Come on, it has the name Bucks in it. Can't beat that. Can't beat it. So Bucs Report, Joshua Allen, the Audible, all of the above, all great things. It's been fantastic tonight. We're going to do it again soon. I'm Tampa Tones on behalf of a great crew here. It's been a ball talking football with you. Until next time, as always, go Bucks.
Bucks.